Okay, so this is a good question about fresh milled flour and how to get it really fluffy, kind of like your store-bought flour. First off, fresh milled flour is definitely different. It's different to work with, and you kind of have to read your dough. That's my first tip, is you need to read your dough and kind of get used to working with it. The first couple times I made bread, I epically failed. So I'm going to share a couple things that have helped me on my journey with fresh milled flour. I've been doing this for about a year now, so I'm not like a pro or anything, but these are the things that have helped me kind of achieve the fluffy bread that you would get from like the store, like the sandwich bread. Because I've had some breads not turn out good, okay? They've been like crumbly, falling apart, like some of them too wet in the middle, like it is definitely a learning curve, so give yourself some grace, and it's totally okay, you know, just keep going. Don't let that discourage you. You can do it. So the first thing is autolyzing your dough. So this means when you mix your flour and your water together and you let it sit for 15 minutes to an hour. I usually do an hour because I'm in a very humidity area. But if you don't live in a humidity area, you might be able to only do like 15 minutes. But I've noticed for me, I usually let mine sit for an hour and let that water soak into the flour and get absorbed. So once you're done letting it sit there, then you move on to your next step, which is your kneading process. And this can take anywhere from 8 minutes to 25 minutes, depending on your climate also. It does kind of affect that. I probably am sitting there kneading maybe up to 20 minutes, I think. In my mixer, it definitely goes faster. If you're doing it by hand, it might take a little bit longer. But once you reach your window peak, is what I believe people call it, is when you stretch your dough out like this and you can see through your dough, but it's not like ripping apart and it's stretching. That's when you know your gluten is forming and it's ready to sit there for the next step. So you will have to stop when I first started, I just like let it go for however long and I was like, it'll be fine. But you have to like stop your mixer, put your dough up and like check it and make sure you're reading your dough. Like that's a thing that you have to do versus using flour from the store. So definitely make sure that you're just stopping and checking as you go. And the more you do it, the more you'll just kind of know from the look of the dough, like you'll be able to read your dough. Then after your kneading process, you're going to let it sit for an hour or two to let it rise and double in size. And then after that is up, you're going to take your dough out, form your ball, to put into your bread pan, and then you're going to let that sit for another 40 minutes to an hour depending on whatever recipe you're using. I like to just keep an eye on it because sometimes it rises quicker, sometimes it takes more time to rise, so anywhere in between that is a good range. And then once it has doubled in size in my bread loaf pans, I can start baking it. And then you'll want to, when you're baking it, you'll want to check the temperature inside to make sure it's over 190. Some recipes will tell you different numbers depending on what kind of bread you're cooking. So definitely keep an eye on that. And that was one thing I never did with fresh milled flour, is check the temperature on the inside, but it is important, and I did not know that when I first started. So I usually just check the temperature inside to make sure it is good. So it's going to take you a little time to kind of start to read your dough, and once you start working with it more, it's going to become a lot easier, and you're going to be able to see, you know, what step you need to take and everything. So give yourself a little grace when you first start. I hope this helps, and if you have any other questions, feel free to drop them below. I'm not a pro, but I will be happy to answer, and if I don't know the answer, I will find you the answer, because fresh milled flour is the bomb, and I am just excited more people are open to using it.